Let's talk about Ukraine. Around 2 million of assets from the lender chain finance have been frozen since the start of the war. Can you comment on the overall situation and how many assets you were or the lender was able to recover so far?
Yeah, so when the unfortunate event in neighboring country happened, the result was that part of assets which are vehicles were basically were damaged or disappeared because it's not a standard situation when you have a war in country, to put it mildly. And also part of receivables, which is largest asset in the leasing company. Also part of people emigrated and had, let's say, real life challenges at that moment. So it was taken a decision from previous shareholder to put restructuring in place, which kind of today also makes sense, to not put extra pressure on a company that they need to quickly repay whatever is left, but to try to stabilize the company, try to understand where are the assets, try to restart the company, and then when the company is stabilized, then to make a decision what to do. Maybe we would have done it a bit differently because the legal restructuring plan binds platform and company from our perspective for too long period. We would prefer a shorter period, let's say a year, and every year we meet again, we look at the situation, and then we kind of make a decision to prolong it. At least we as a platform would have rights to prolong it. So that was one thing where, in principle, it still seems right way to do it when the war started and there's a stress on the company, you try to stabilize it. But maybe there could have been a better approach for formal part of how the restructuring was put in place. So one is term. Second is also if the company recovers quicker, then I think that the interest rate which is put in the restructuring plan might also be more aggressive, more favorable for platforms investors. And currently we've been monitoring the company, receiving financials on a monthly basis, and the decision to stabilize it has proven to be right, because I think for the last 10, 11, 12 consecutive months, company is generating profit and recovering. So that means that investors have more collateral in place. But as we already spoke before the interview, still this is the area which is a heritage for us from previous ownership, but we here need to be very responsible, and we plan to find a solution for the investors, even if it's the problem occurred before we were owners. So we still very much focused on finding a solution. And currently I can give you a slight preview because I'm not legally able to disclose all the details, but we have found an interested party which believes in the industry, believes in Ukraine, and is willing to make an offer for buying claim rights. So that means that we don't need to wait for 5 years. We don't need to wait for unpredictable result, whatever the result is going to be with the war. We also don't need to risk further devaluation of currency because the loan is exposed to hryvnia fluctuations. And there's also a moratorium, which means that debt which occurred before war cannot be serviced currently. So we need to find an external partner investor who would buy claim rights from another EU country, and in that way we could offer investors a quick solution to get money back. Of course, the only problem is that still the company has less assets than outstanding loan. So from top of my head, rough figures were 2 million were outstanding loan for Ukraine. So currently company has and again from top of my head round figures, 1.4 or 1.5 are assets. So the investor indicatively offered 1.056, so around the top 1.1 million euros. Again, to put it roughly, it's 60% investors get money quickly and today and for sure, rather than waiting for 100% within 5 years. And we also spoke with colleagues that one thing we can do is we can do a special offer at the platform that only for investors that were engaged in Ukraine, we can make a bit more lucrative investment opportunities where we would not ask, for example, standard fees platform would ask, but kind of coming forth to the investors, taking into account the situation, we would kind of do it for free and offer some investment opportunities which anyways in the initial restructuring period would enable investors to get full amount back. So we're still discussing it because we need to do a AML check, which is currently in the process. We still need to prepare the final documentation, and then that is a challenge how we make a decision or we communicate with investors. What would investors prefer? To wait a longer period and try to get all the money back from Ukraine, or not risk with these factors I mentioned earlier, and maybe take less but now and try to invest it elsewhere and basically in the same time period get the money back. So that will be a challenge, how to ask opinion from investors, taking into account that there is not one or two investors, but it's a longer list of investors, and to get a consensus, that is a challenge. So we haven't thought that through, but we want to finalize first legally binding deal from the investors side, and then we need to think how to communicate with investors. But all in all, it is unfortunate because it will be first default for Debitum for 5 or 6 years, and that will be something new for the platform. Yeah, I think there's 0 defaults so far. But again, at least the circumstances that the default happens for a company where you have force majeure, a war in a country, that is something very unfortunate.
Well, explained the entire situation. You already answered many of my follow-up questions. In parts also, with the restructuring that was put in place in July last year, which happened, let's say, without the consent or without any voice from investor side. That's something that you feel like is now about to change, so investors can have the ultimate say in if they want to cut losses short and get around 60% back, or if they want to prolong or extend this kind of recovery period with the potential of getting paid back, but in a obviously way longer period of time. I think it was maybe 6 years down the line after the war ended, so that could take also quite a significant...
We approach this issue, if that would be my money, if I would put in Ukraine, what would I choose? So I think we will recommend investors exactly the same what we would do if it was my money. Because we also do calculation that for most investors, even if they have a default in Ukrainian assets, in combined investments at the platform, they would still be in very good pluses. So that is something which we find certain comfort in, that if you have a portfolio of different assets and if one defaults, unfortunately sometimes it happens, then it's very important that all in all the total amount is with profit, not with loss. So we did a calculation that most investors will actually be anyways in plus, but any default is it's bad news.
Yeah. Maybe one last follow-up, because you mentioned for the 11, 12 previous months, Chain Finance has been operating profitable. Can you talk about how many assets have been recovered as of today, and if there may be also a way to get full repayments and even adjusting the repayment schedule, which had quite a long timeline, and maybe ensuring a full recovery maybe 2 or 3 years down the line?
Yeah, so the company has been profitable I think 20 to 30% has been kind of gained from point where war started. So that is good news. But the bad news is that the recovery in Ukraine legally due to moratorium cannot happen in a standard way. That we initiate debt collection, we get all the current receivables money back, we put it in a safe place, and we keep it until we are legally able to send it to investors. We cannot do it because of moratorium, so we are left with two choices: whether we initiate that collection, we keep the money somewhere safe, but it stays, it's not working, so it doesn't generate any return, and potentially looking at different historic countries where there has been war, the national currency will be devalued. So for sake of example, you recover most of money, you put it in a safe place, but then it stays while moratorium is in place. So it will just depreciate. So in that sense, the initial restructuring plan was very reasonable to keep the money in the company so that the money is working. Yeah, because currently the recovered money is issuing new loans to new car leasing clients and kind of working and generating more interest. So with the investor transaction, we would sell it and get money back. But if we don't do that, then probably we would change terms in more to more favorable to investors' side, that they're more flexible. In case a company quicker generates profit, maybe we share some upside. So that is scenario B. Now we're focused on monitoring it, that we're sure that it generates profit and the situation gets better. B, finalizing a deal with investors so that we can offer something to investors that we actually managed to have a success story to get, yes, with discount, but money back from a country where you have a war. And then C, if A and B doesn't work, then we go for the long haul, so to speak, and then probably we think how to improve investors' position. So it's tricky. Yeah.